Morning, everyone. I want to thank you again for coming to our third and final training session for this semester for ACA 115 instructors. The primary purpose of today's training is assessment. We want to give you, again, an overview of the assessment piece of the plan and to let you know what is expected of you as an instructor in terms of assessment for collecting artifacts, and to give you some tools and resources, again, ideas to help you do what we're asking you to do, again, to teach and assess communication skills. Before we begin today, as we've done with the previous sessions, it's important to keep our QEP goal and our SLOs at the forefront of what we're doing. So many of you probably are saying this in your sleep at this point, but the goal of RCC's QEP is to enhance our graduates' ability to communicate effectively for their chosen career and educational paths. And our goal will be achieved through 3 student learning outcomes, so through 3 SLOs. Given a professional or academic context appropriate to the student's chosen career or educational path, first, the student will express thoughts and ideas in writing using standard English and appropriate vocabulary. Second, the student will express thoughts and ideas orally using standard English and appropriate vocabulary. And third, the student will select and use appropriate means and methods to communicate these thoughts and ideas. So again, in essence, we want our students to be marked as educated, to give them the communication skills that they need to help them excel within the workplace and within their professional realm. And our professional development outcomes, our PDOs, also mirror our SLOs and support the goal of our QEP. So we have 3 professional development outcomes that I want to review for you again as well. First, instructors will acquire skills and knowledge to teach and assess writing using standard English and appropriate vocabulary. Second, instructors will acquire skills and knowledge needed to teach and assess orally using standard English and appropriate vocabulary. And again, instructors will select and use appropriate instructional means and methods to communicate these thoughts and ideas to students. Are there any questions about SLOs? This one? I'm sorry. Okay. I don't teach in this classroom, so that's good to know. All right, does that help? Is that better? Yeah. All right, thank you, thank you. Do I need to go back and review anything? Is everybody okay? All right, thank you. And so again, let's talk a little bit about assessment. Assessment measures our student learning outcomes. We'll also measure our professional development outcomes as well, but primarily this measures our planned success. Are we doing what we set out to do? And the way the assessment piece works is that we'll take a 20% random sample with initial assessment. So you guys in the ACA area of instruction are going through your professional development this semester, and then in the fall of 2014, you will begin implementing QEP interventions in your courses. And so at the end of the fall semester, we're going to take 20% random sample of 1 oral artifact, so 1 oral communication activity, usually a presentation, and then 1 written activity, typically some type of paper that you would do in your course. And then we're going to randomize that. The OWCC will help us. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. And that'll help us to do our random sample, conduct our random sample for our population to see that we're on track, on target with what we're wanting to do with our QEP. And then we'll have a 5% random sample target group in subsequent years. So in following years, we'll take a 5% random sample versus that 20%. You'll still be incorporating QEP throughout the implementation process. And again, it is a 5-year process, but these are the nuts and bolts of the assessment piece, if you will. The OWCC personnel will be instrumental with data collection and with putting systems in place to help us with our assessment piece. Again, Charles will talk with you about that in just a few minutes. And then we also will have a college-wide assessment team. And many of you are familiar with what's coming up. The first one is scheduled for May the 12th through the 15th. And we'll have the assessment team. We'll also be assessing our general education competencies in addition to our QEP artifacts at that time. So that's one way that we're actually beginning to blend our gen ed outcomes with our QEP outcomes as well. Rubrics will be involved. We've talked some about rubrics with our first session. Rubrics will be involved for assessment, but you'll also be required, again, as an instructor, you're going to be having a graded assignment, a graded oral assignment, and a written assignment, so you'll also need to make sure that you have a rubric that correlates with those activities in your course. You can use the QEP rubrics that are already there for you, or if you want to work with me or work with Charles, we can help you modify and construct a rubric that would be specific to that particular activity that you want. So we're happy to provide additional support if you need that for rubrics. And then our perception surveys are an indirect way that we're going to measure our success, student and faculty perception surveys. As I mentioned, our Oral and Written Communication Center, the OWCC, is a vital piece to our plan, and it will serve as a resource for both students and faculty throughout the implementation process, providing tutorial services in both speaking and writing activities. It also will be there, again, to help for recording speeches, to help faculty with the oral presentation component of the QEP, and then it will also be there, again, for data collection to help us with collecting those oral and written artifacts and randomizing them for the assessment team so that we can, again, assess the data that we've collected. And then it will also work as a resource to continue building print and online information, that repository for our students and for our faculty throughout the QEP implementation. And so some of you may be sitting there going, okay, this is great. We've gone through 2 full trainings. We're getting ready to hear some more information. So what? What do I do next? What do I do? You know, how is this impacting me? As we've previously discussed, you're in the process of looking at what oral and written activities you want to begin incorporating in your class. I know we've already talked about things that you were doing, particularly a lot of low stakes activities where you didn't maybe perhaps provide a grade for something, but you were still giving students an opportunity to practice oral and written communication skills. So we want to move to, again, how am I going to hold them accountable for what we want them to do. So think about, again, that one oral, that one written high stakes activity that you're going to use with grading rubric and that we're going to use to collect for our assessment piece. Again, you're going to also look at a rubric. What rubric might you use for the particular activities you choose? Again, you will provide a grading rubric for those activities, and we'll be assessing them with our assessment piece of the plan. We also talked about course documents, your ICRs, and we looked at many of them perhaps had the written component, maybe you had a paper that was listed there, but you might not have had the oral component that was actually listed on the activities for your students. So again, we're looking at the 2 high stakes activities that need to be included there for grade. So think about how you're going to start revising and modifying your ICR to include the QEP SLOs, and then to also include both an oral component and a written component for your students. And then the last thing is that you need to get really excited, because this is going to do really good things for our students and for RCC. We're already seeing the beginnings of a shift in how people perceive communication skills, how students perceive their own communication skills, and again, how faculty perceive the necessary means, to provide information and provide instruction, again, to help students improve oral and written communication skills. Renee Craven, the Department Chair for Allied Health, has had success with an activity that she's incorporated called an avatar activity that I want her to share with you for again, an idea that you might want to use to incorporate an oral communication activity in your class, particularly in an online setting for those of you who teach ACA online. And then Charles is going to also talk to you about YouTube and about Google Drives. You'll also notice that I've got Poodle, P-O-O-D-L-L. That is actually a new tool that is within our Moodle interface. Taylor McCaskill, our DL director, she actually has the information on that, and she's on leave right now. So once she gets back and kind of gets rolling again, we're going to have a little bit of extra training on Poodle, because that is going to be an incredible resource that you can also do an oral presentation through Moodle as well. So again, additional tools for you, for those of you in the online setting who may have some concerns, or you're not sure, how do I do an online presentation with my students. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Renee Craven, and again, I want to thank you, Renee, for coming.
Share with you what we were doing in our class to incorporate some of the quality enhancement plan objectives. And the class that I was teaching was called professionalism, and so what we were doing in our class for medical assistants, it was a hybrid class. So what we were doing was we found a need for these students to, what we were trying to do was prepare them for the workforce in that class. And so what we did was, through the years, we've altered it somewhat, but what we ended up with the last few semesters was a way to get these students to conduct a mock interview to prepare them for their interviews when they got out before they graduated. And it was a second-year class, but I can see where this could be used in many different avenues as far as in your classes as for an oral presentation. So it's very adaptable, but I'll just share with you how we did it. But we first looked at what our outcomes, what we wanted to gain from this, and of course it was oral presentation skills and written skills. So what we had the students to do in this class was, first of all, we lectured, we did online lectures, we did classroom lectures on how to compose a resume. That was the first thing that we did. And then once they composed their resume and their cover letters, we would review that in class. They had the opportunity for tutoring services at the Writing Center and the Academic Student Success, and some of them came over and lectured for our students as well and shared ideas as far as how to compose that resume. And then that was a graded piece that we did as far as assessing their written skills. And then they also composed a portfolio, which was supposed to be a compiling of everything that they had done during their program as far as here are my skills, so that they could present that during their interview. And then we set up this on our Moodle, which was this avatar, and what we did was we put the questions on here, and all of the students here at RCC have access to a YouTube account through their Google. And so Taylor McCaskill came into the class. She gave them an exercise on how to access that YouTube account, create their YouTube account, and go to it. And the only tools that they needed was a computer with a webcam. And most of our students had that, but we had one also set up in the classroom that they could use. But this allowed them to do this at their own time. So we asked them to dress up, dress in your best clothing, come in with your portfolio, be ready to present it during your interview. We did not give them advance notice. We said, okay, your interview is, and we made a phone call to the number on their resume, and we said, your interview is going to be, and we gave them 1 day's notice. That was it. And we had worked with them on, here's what we will possibly question you on. And so we did a dry run. We gave them one interview, and then we went back and we gave them a final interview. The first interview was peer review graded, and that gave them the opportunity to get advice from their peers and go back and improve. So we were also able to evaluate them on how well did you take the advice and then go back and incorporate the improvements into your final product. So that's what we did, and this is what our avatar looked like. We would have them to open their computers. They would sign on to their YouTube account, which when they signed on to create a video onto your YouTube account, it brings up the cam automatically on your computer, and then they're sitting there looking at themselves. They would hit record. They would minimize that screen, because you really don't need to look at yourself when you're recording yourself, because it's kind of distracting. And then they would bring up their Moodle in their classroom, and then what they would see would be this. And when they would play it, they would hear,
"Hi, my name is Kate Smith. Thank you for coming into the interview today. I want to get started by asking you, what's your ideal company?"
and then they would answer the question. They would look at the camera, they would answer the question, and then after they had answered the question, they would give any type of feedback that they wanted to, and they were given the opportunity to pause and start. And it was really funny. We learned so much through this because we just set out to, again, enhance their oral skills, but they learned so much more because it was, how do I operate my computer? How do I mean, there was so much controversy that they had to deal with in order to get this exercise done, that there was a huge learning exercise for everybody. So they learned so much. And then they would in turn turn around and watch themselves, which we learned so much from that. So I think they learned a whole lot about interviewing and presenting and that type thing. And they would finish that question and they would move on to the next.
That's great. Okay. Next question. What can you do for us that other candidates can't?
And we had given them to prepare them for this, we had given them an advertisement, a job advertisement. They were given a job advertisement and they were applying for this job. So they were asked to investigate it, study it, figure out what it was that they wanted to say during the interview. And at the end, the avatar asked them, what do you like to share with us, which was their portfolio. So they would hold their portfolio up and present it. And then their secondary interview would be just me. I was the only one grading it, and their classmates did not see their final interview. And then I would give feedback as far as that was concerned. And I gave you a copy of the types of rubrics that we used. Of course, we did grade their resumes, and then we graded their interviews. And so we were picking up all of their oral and their written skills, and we graded their portfolios as well. So like I said, it was a huge learning experience, and they were able to meet many of the objectives in the class in just one assignment. But this assignment, like I said, did carry out through the entire semester, because we started out with teaching them about the resumes, and then it was interview skills, and then portfolio creation, and then this was the final assignment. But I can see where it would work well in many of your classes as far as just allowing them to present orally. But there are lots of ways you can connect it with a written assignment. Any questions or anything else I could show you, or?
Instructions that you provided are
Right. I told on the instructions what we had the students to do first, which was develop the resume, develop the portfolio, create their account, get their directions as far as the video lesson, complete their interview, participate in their peer review, and then complete their last interview. And then what I had to do in advance was submit my interview questions to Taylor McCaskill, and she was able to help me to set up the avatar. And then I had to link the video to the Moodle and then give them an instructional video as to how to function, which is linked on here as well. It was sort of like a module that we had created, as far as they had a module here with the first interview and the secondary interview. Then they were given directions for uploading the video to YouTube, which was also a video, and it had it listed there. And then we had an assignment link created for them to submit their resume and then their interviews. So in the instructional sheet that I gave them, just sort of walks you through what objectives we had in the class and then what we had to do prior to do the assignment. And we just leave it. Yeah, it's been really neat. And the second interview didn't have the same questions, as the first interview. So they learned a lot and we learned a lot, and it was it was very fun. It was really fun. We had a good time with it. They were really nervous, but you can only see them from the waist up when they presented their videos. But it was so funny because so many of them don't realize what's going on behind them, and they learned so much about setting it up. But the second one was great because they improved so much. We saw lots of funny things because they would forget the camera was on them.
And that is important to consider.
It is very important to consider that.
Information.
Right. And then we were finding, as we did it, so many of our employers, like, one of my daughters actually interviewed through Skype, and she actually had an interview that was conducted on Skype, and there was an interview team sitting in front of her, and it would bounce from person to person, and she had to set up her computer and join in on that. And there's so many opportunities for that now. And one of our physician's offices actually does telemedicine, and they actually bring the patient in, sit them in front of the camera, and the patients interact with the physician through telemedicine, and so it was such a learning experience for the students to see how to do this for so many reasons other than the oral and written. They learned so much more than we set out for them to learn.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Charles Dickerson, for those of you who don't know me. I'm the coordinator for the Oral and Written Communication Center. And so I guess I'm here to talk to you. I'll try and be brief, but basically about what we do, what we're available, the services that we offer for you and for the students, as well as how we're going to help with collecting the artifacts and how we're going to basically do that and try to make that as stress-free and easy as possible. So first order is just basically my contact information. If nothing else, I want you to take away that I'm available all the time. I'm here all the time, Monday through Friday. So if you need help getting a written component together, an oral component together, or anything related to what we're doing here, email me is the best way. I check my email like too many times a day. So just email me and I can always get back to you quickly. Alternatively, give me a call. I'm not in my office as much because I spend a lot of time upstairs in the OWCC and we don't have a phone up there, but I have my voicemail set so it will run straight to my email. So if you leave me a message, if you don't get me, leave me a message and it will go to my email and you will essentially have sent me an email. So I'll get that really quick. So I get a lot of things through the digital. And let me know, and I'm always available to come help you out. I can come meet you in your office, I can look at your emails, whatever you need, I'd be glad to help you out. The hours change each semester basically because I've got to work a little bit around my schedule, as well as I try to keep a balance of, I offer some night hours for people who come from the night classes, the morning hours. Afternoon's usually my busiest, but I try to kind of adjust it based off of what I'm seeing as the busiest hours. So we adjust our hours, those change every semester, but I always try and get them posted on our website within that first week so it's immediately available. So that just basically go through current students, tutoring services, and then I'm right there in the link, and you can get the updated hours from me. And I try to send out an email too at the beginning of the semester so everyone can know, when I'm going to be available. I've also got a big stack of little handouts right here if you want to take any of those with you. I carry them with me, so they have my contact information, my hours, that way you can hand them out to students if students have questions about when I'm available. So first of all, for students, basically we're a tutoring center, professional tutoring center. Students can come up to talk with me about their oral and written communication assignments in whatever class they're working for, and I can kind of help them get them where they need to be. I also have recording equipment if they want to practice doing a speech. We can record the speech up there, we can play it back, go over strong points of it. We'll have webcams that are coming in soon as well. If students need to borrow those, we can come back to that in a little bit. We do one-on-one appointments, so I try to keep it informal but professional. They can come in, relaxed environment, come talk to me, and I can help kind of get them where they need to be without them feeling, because a lot of times when students come in for tutoring, they're coming to get help, they feel a little under pressure, they feel a little concerned, and so I try to alleviate some of that concern and kind of get them to relax and get them on track with where they need to go. I also do online tutoring through Google Hangouts if students can't come on campus. It doesn't get used that much, but really all a student has to do is email me through their student Gmail account, and I can get them through Google Hangouts essentially. So we can do a web chat with my webcam. If they have a webcam, I can just chat. If they don't have it, I can just chat in the chat box, and we can pull up whatever they're working on, and I can always kind of help them no matter where they're at essentially. So essentially just send them to me and I will help them with whatever they happen to be working on and get them good to go. Now for faculty, I'm here basically since you're developing these new projects, you're developing the oral components, the written components, and all that kind of fun stuff. Anything you need help with along those lines, come talk to me. I've had the fun and the pleasure of working with lots of different departments at this point, so I can kind of see what a lot of people are doing. And one of the things I try to help you do is make things that'll tailor specifically to your class. And if you've got ideas, some of the best ideas I've gotten from talking to people, kind of makes these flow naturally into what you're already doing. So that way it's not a lot of extra burden on you, and the students kind of see the relevancy of what of the oral and written communication as it pertains to your course content. One of the ideas I think I got from ACA was having students do their presentations on the chapters that were being worked on. So it's basically it just reinforced whatever lesson was on a current chapter, and it incorporated that oral presentation kind of interspersed out throughout the semester, which made it a little bit easier. But whatever works for you, we can come up with ideas and concepts, working on a rubric, really whatever you need. Just come let me know and I'll be glad to help you out. We will also be collecting the data. So once we do the recording, or once you get the written stuff, basically we will be the ones, OWCC, to collect that for you. As far as collecting the written artifacts, it's pretty straightforward. Make sure just get a digital copy of whatever they're doing, and you can have them uploaded onto Moodle, since we're all web enhanced now. And when you have it uploaded onto Moodle, you can literally download it all as a big zip file, send the zip file to the email address right here, qep@staff.richmondcc.edu, and that's it. You're done. I'll take care of the rest. I'll put it all in the Google Drive. I'll randomize it. All you have to do is have them upload it to the Moodle site, download the zip file, send me that, and I will and let me know what class it's coming from, and then I will take care of it all from there for you. For the oral artifacts, there's a couple different ways we can do it, depending on whether it's an online class or depending on if someone can come in and record for you. The easiest way will be for me just to come to your class. So basically, if you've got a traditional class or a hybrid class, I can just come to the classroom that day, let me know, give me a heads up. I'll bring my recording equipment, I'll record it. The students doing their presentations, and then you don't have to do anything else. I will go make sure it gets all uploaded to YouTube and is ready for the assessment teams. Alternatively, if it's an online class and you have them do the recordings, then they just need to have it uploaded to YouTube, and then you can send me their YouTube link essentially, which I've got a handout attached here about methods for incorporating online presentations, as well as a brief instructions on how to set things up in YouTube. It's pretty straightforward. It's basically, so long as they have their Gmail account, as far as I understand it, they have their YouTube account. So literally, their student Gmail, get on YouTube, they'll be logged in. If they have a webcam, they can record straight to YouTube, and it's very straightforward, very simple. Then they just need to send the instructor a link, and basically you can do that through whatever you're comfortable with. Set up a forum on a Moodle site is probably the easiest way, but once again, we can kind of tailor that to fit whatever you want to do. Let's see here.
And when they upload it,
Yes.
because I know this is going to come up. This
Sure.
might be a stupid question.
No.
When they upload it on YouTube, nobody else can see that, right?
No, basically, you can set it to private if they're concerned about that. They just need to make sure they give permissions essentially to who. When I upload it to YouTube is what you're saying. When I upload, yes, all our stuff's on a private channel. If they do their own upload, they can set it to private, but they need to unlock permissions for other people to be able to see it. So if they're doing the upload, they can set to private, and we can walk through that phase. Alternatively, if they can set it to public and everyone can just look at it. But for everything I collect and record in the classroom, that's all on a private channel. No one else can see that but the assessment people. Let's see. So. Any questions so far about the collecting written artifacts, OWCC, what we do, all that fun stuff? Okay, good. So one of the big concerns that we've had so far is just how to do the oral presentations in an online classroom. If your class is completely online, it does create some problems for doing the oral presentations sometimes. So there's a couple ways you can do it. I just wanted to kind of go over this handout really quick with some details. One of the easier ways is just reserve a classroom. Talk to Tricia Lunsford, reserve a classroom, coordinate with the students on a day that works for them, meet in the classroom, let me know, and me or someone from the OWCC will come in and record it and get everything good to go. That said, online classrooms, sometimes it can be hard to get everyone to meet. So another option is the direct record to YouTube, which is what I was just talking about, where if students have a webcam, they can literally just go on YouTube and record it straight to there. If they don't have a webcam, we're going to have some in the library available for students to check out, so that way they can get it from there. Just go to the library. It'll be at the desk up there. They need to have their student ID, and they'll check it out just like they would a book. We will also have, in the event that an instructor, that OWCC can't come out, or if you just prefer to record your own class, the instructors will also be able to check out a camcorder and a tripod, so you can record your own class if you'd like. Let's say you've got your own hours, or if you're just, I've had one instructor who felt like the students would just be more comfortable if it was just him doing the recording, because a lot of students were very anxious about doing the presentation. And so that's fine too. We will have the extra equipment available, and basically we're trying to get an idea of how much we need equipment-wise, so if we need more, we'll order more. Let's see here. And then the other option, which could be even easier still, if you're concerned about students using the technology, for example, I know a lot of students can find using the computers a little challenging at times, is I'll have all the recording equipment up in the OWCC. So you can just have them come, any student who's concerned about uploading things to YouTube, just tell them to come see me. And anytime during the scheduled hours I'm available, they can come up and they can record their oral presentations with me. I'll get it all set up for them. I'll get them on there. So long as they can, the only thing they'll need is to be on their student Gmail. If they can get on their student Gmail, I can take them the rest of the way and have their presentation ready. Hopefully they'll have that ready too. That'll be a good step. And those are kind of the ways that you can kind of incorporate the online presentation component, the technical side at least, of incorporating the online presentation into that classroom. So, you know, you're going to run into probably technical problems, like what Aaron was talking about. So it doesn't hurt to do like a dry run, maybe a shorter presentation earlier in the semester, because that way students can work through those problems. Or alternatively, have kind of like if they run into issues, have a little bit of a grace period where they can make those fixes, because you know, working with the technology is probably one of the larger challenges. But on the flip side, they need to know how to use their computers. They need to know how to work online, and so it is a good opportunity for them to get practice with all that fun stuff. Let's see here. I think basically the last note, and then if you have any questions, is we're also working on a database of resources. I'm going to have those online linked through our OWCC website. We're kind of finalizing some of the drafts to make sure everything looks good. I'm going to try to provide some videos when I can, but that way you'll have access. You can always call me, but you also have access to some documents similar to this. I'm going to try to make them briefer and easier to kind of go through and parse the information as we go further along in the process, but you'll have an access to those resources through the OWCC website. There'll be a link on there. You can just click that, and that'll pull up the documents and all the other kind of resources and help and advice that we've put together so far. I've also gotten Professor Fairley to agree to do an Ask Professor Fairley commentary a couple times a semester for me, so we can get our local communications guru advice on a regular basis, and I think that's going to be pretty good stuff. So far, the dry run for that, we didn't record just a few questions, but it was very entertaining and very informative, and he's got lots of good stuff for us to share. His information, I'm really excited about that coming out there too, because anyone who's heard him speak, he's really good at it. Any questions in general about the collection, putting the stuff out there, what we do at the OWCC? Excellent. Well, good deal. And basically, just let me know as we get into the process. You know, I'm glad to come talk to you, help you set up your written assignments, oral communication stuff, and get you good to go. So, and that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Charles.
No problem.
Think of one tool or activity or a resource, information you've heard today that you can incorporate next semester.
Yeah.
Which one stands out to you that you found incredible value with?
I like both the Avatar and the OWCC.
Yeah.
Just knowing that, you know, and it might have been just my naiveness, that Charles can do both. Either go there or come to the class to record, because that's going to be really helpful, I think, too, with other instructors.
Yes.
Because if they're doing a completely online class, but they need to record a lecture, you know, that
Yeah,
help with that.
Have them come see me, talk to me, and I'll be glad to get them good to go.
Right. And that is,
Thinking I'll have to go over there.
no, I mean,
Exactly, I got your back.
yeah, the OWCC is flexible, and again, it is the support hub, or the nucleus, as I've termed it, for the QEP in terms of resources and materials and support for us, for faculty and for students. Anybody else have an idea that you particularly liked?
I like the Avatar. I think that would be interesting for the students, and it gives them a lot of experience in a lot of different areas.
Right. And I think, and interestingly, you can incorporate that for a written component and an oral component. You could, as the avatar could provide the written prompt for what you're asking students to write about, and then, or provide an oral communication prompt as well, you know, to get them engaged with public speaking. So I thought that was interesting. But again, I want to thank Renee and thank Charles for their ideas and contributions to our QEP. The last thing that I want to talk to you about is our baseline data. I've had a chance to briefly look at the spreadsheet information that you've sent me, and I appreciate that. The one thing I think that we might need to take a look at revising is a lot of people put, I think, every activity that you were already doing. And that's great because we've talked about those, and you are doing a lot of low stakes activities to give students that opportunity for practice, to give them some feedback and help them grow and learn with their communication skills, and that's what we want. But I want you to look at what's currently on the ICR that you're using this semester. And I know we talked some about, most people had the written paper there, but perhaps maybe missed the oral communication activity or vice versa. So look and see specifically what's graded, what you have on the ICR within the grading realm and within what you've already, again, put out there for students. And we should just have one line item per instructor on once I get the spreadsheet totally completed. So if you'll take some time, it shouldn't take you very long to go back and look at what you sent me, and then take a look at your current ICR, the one that's in place for this semester, to see what, again, graded activity that you're doing for an oral component and a written component. If you're not doing both, that's totally fine. That gives us an opportunity to show SAC COC as we progress through our implementation process that we are learning, we're improving, we're growing. So.
The question I have when I'm trying to find oral presentation is career presentation, and the written portion combines maybe 25% of our class, so those are both major.
Okay.
And can we put, you had indicated we needed to do a major and a minor, but can they be both major?
Yes, they don't have to be major and minor. They can both be minor, they can both be major, so that's fine. Just make sure that you indicate, like I've got your copy of yours right here, and you put the oral was a minor assignment. And if it is, that's fine. But if you need to put it over to the major column, you can do that too. So that's not a problem. And we talked, I think you and I had a brief conversation electronically anyway about that. So yeah, I think yours looks okay. You have everything on the one line item. So. And you've included both so that you do give grades for both of those activities, and that's fine. All right. When do you think is a reasonable timeline to have the baseline data spreadsheets revised and back to me? And then when do you think would be reasonable for you to have your course documents in place and ready for what you're going to be doing for the fall?
Our course documents would include a rubric as well.
Yes. And again, you can use the QEP rubrics that are already available. Some instructors are already using those. Some instructors I've worked with personally to take that information and to create their own, for their specific course content. So either way is fine. And again, Charles is available, I'm available. For support to help you get what you need. So what are your thoughts on a timeline?
I guess it would depend on when you guys need it.
Well, I mean, the baseline information I need at least, within the next few weeks, so that I can get that information put into SPOL. Is that reasonable though? I mean,
That's just the baseline, not the rubric.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we'll do baseline 2 weeks from today. I'll check a calendar and I'll send this out to you when I send the results from today's training to you. And then in terms of your ICR, when do you guys usually have those ready and prepared for the next semester? The day before classes start. Okay.
If we're lucky.
All right. Well, I'm going to encourage you to try to.
Because the curriculum come off as what needs on the week after classes start.
Yeah.
And we do have to tweak them a little.
Right. Well, because the QEP, you guys are rolling out with QEP, we need to look at getting those done in advance, just so that I can look at them and make sure the QEP SLOs are reflected in there, and then make sure the activities, there's both an oral and a written component. The grade, there's a graded element to it as well. So think about that, right? It might be that needs to happen at some point over the summer. So but just not pushing it right to the last minute, right when classes start. I understand why, I get that. And especially given there might be some changes in ACA coming down the pipe anyway. So needless to say. So are there any questions about assessment?
So with just to clarify, the baseline data that's due in 2 weeks, are you wanting us to try to apply the QEP stuff to what we did, or?
The baseline data is what you're currently doing. So you sent me a spreadsheet already with that information. So I want you to go back and look at your current ICR from this semester, and then compare that with what you sent me, and only pick one oral graded activity and one written graded activity.
I only have to do one?
One of each. If you're not doing one of each, that's okay. Some people were doing a graded paper, I think, but maybe not a graded oral activity, or vice versa. So you can do both or not do both. It's what you're currently doing. That's what we're trying to capture, right? The second part to this are the course documents, like your ICR and rubrics, and that is not needed right yet. We'll get to that. We're moving to that.
What I sent you was what I had on my ICR.
Let's see.
For the grade, I might not have seen my actual ICR though when we were first getting started.
Okay, I've got one that doesn't have the instructor's name on it. I'm not sure who's. I've got Debbie's. I have
I don't think I sent mine to you. I need to do that.
ACJ.
Baseline though, right?
That's you. Okay. I've got Marvina's. I have Chris's, and this is yours, Crystal.
Okay, so you got mine.
Yeah, but I didn't know it was yours. So if you'll also make sure that.
It didn't have an instructor's name on it?
No, you just put 115 in the course. There's in that blank, that cell block says the course number / instructor. So just indicate that you're the instructor there.
That's not mine, because I put it on mine. I have one that I did that I put that.
Would that be Sharon's then?
Maybe it's Sharon's. Maybe it's Sharon's. Okay. We'll take a look at it and see. Okay. But just if you'll just look at it and just compare it with your current ICR. Also make sure, again, I know some of the ICRs didn't really disclose the actual grade for the grading element for the activity. So as you're thinking about modifying and revising course documents, again, make sure that that's very clear for students. All right. So any questions then about assessment?
If we didn't send you our specific ICR for the class, do you want that? I know we've all kind of tweaked them individually.
Well, what I want for the baseline, though, is what you already sent me. So before you started tweaking it, what is currently in place right now?
Tweaking went on prior to that, because I do something different than Chris does sometimes.
Okay, well,
Do you want our ICR, like the ICRs we use this semester?
the ones that are on file, yeah. I think you sent those to me, though, right?
I don't think I sent it to you.
No, we just sent you baseline, unless Sharon sent them.
We had, you guys sent them to me early on. I have,
You asked it for me.
yeah, you guys sent them to me. I have them.
Mine.
I have them.
I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't for some reason.
Yeah, if you didn't send it to me, go ahead and send it so I've got it. That way we can see, again, the snapshot of where we started, and then we can show change and show growth as we implement. Okay. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I have everybody's here, I think maybe again except for Crystal's. So I'll double check though, and if I'm missing, if I got lost in email or which that happens from time to time, we'll work it out. We're here to help you and give you what you need to be successful in implementing the QEP within your courses. All right, well, I want to thank you for coming today. Again, thank Charles and thank Renee for contributing to the training elements. Very useful information. If you'll take a moment to complete your perception survey to provide feedback, I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, my door is open if you have questions. Email me, call me, come by and see me. Together we're going to make a difference with our QEP.